evening from the International Common Law Court in Melbourne, Dr. Barry. We're now going to have a quick pop across to Pennsylvania. We've all heard of Pennsylvania recently, and of course, Groundhog Day, well, that's where it was made, in one of those towns there. So a friend of mine, David Michael, he's been involved in law enforcement with the Army and as a marshal, and his good friend Robert, which is a former policeman, and he was in the Army for years. He's now got post-traumatic stress. He was in special forces, so these people have seen a lot of action, or at least Robert has. They are now very interested in becoming part of the International Common Law Court because of the injustice which has taken part in Pennsylvania for quite a long time, and of course it's all come to a head now with sheer corruption. So we're going to head across to them now and have a chat to them, and with a lot of interesting stuff coming from the future. But before we go there, I'd like to draw your attention to a website which just popped up here in Australia, and it's rather disturbing because they're asking for a donation. So let's go and have a look at that site, donations. Now, how can you donate to something that doesn't exist? And if it did exist, you can't look on a website looking for donations for the simple reason that's a scam, because the Common Law Court is free. We just put your name in, put your case forward, and the paperwork, everything is free. So if you look over here, London News here on Friday, the 13th of November, obviously, and we're now going to cross from Melbourne to Pennsylvania, where it's already a very well-known state at the moment. And we have Anne here, which is really the secretary of our organization, which is not an organization, it's just the common law, just people trying to get things together. And Anne is one of the secretaries that does the paperwork. And we'll cross over to Pennsylvania. Then David would like to introduce you. David.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, David Michael here. It's nice to be back on with you guys. Talk about some good court stuff, maybe a little quantum in there. But that might be for a whole nother episode later. We'll try and stick to common law, but yeah, I'm in Pennsylvania. Actually, Trump won in the Pennsylvania Superior Court, right? Supreme Court. I think it might have been today. Yeah, so he got his way with them. So Pennsylvania is pretty much almost done with being his.
And Robert.
Or Justice Parsays to no law speaks title judge.
Yeah. Oh, Robert, what's the story?
Woohoo!
Okay. I'm actually a 27-year retired disabled veteran. I started in the Marine Corps and served some time in the Army, and then I did about 19 years in the Air Force.
Right. Well, that's interesting. Well, the Common Law Court, as you probably know, we're attached to the UK, and Victoria we've set up, and we haven't had a court case here as yet because of all this BS restrictions which we have. As soon as these BS restrictions are removed, we'll have public meetings and we'll go from there. So you guys would like to get involved and any ideas what you'd like to do in relation to the Common Law Court? Have you got any cases? Oh, well, that would be a silly question. You've probably got thousands of cases. We'd have to start off with one to begin. Any ideas on that, David?
Well, we're already involved with the environmental court, as you know. So, basically, if someone goes to the bathroom and flushes the toilet, we can indict them on treason. It's pretty funny, actually, because by 1972, the 92nd Congress came up with the Clean Water Act and created the Environmental Court, and that's what we enforce under Public Law 92-500, clean water, clean air, clean environment, mainly dealing with the water. And we do investigative reports on that when we're investigating somebody. I think it was 1985, all federal buildings, which is every building on the planet that's registered, had to be in compliance with the Clean Water Act at source of discharge, the water being cleaned, going back into the environment. And there are devices that do that. The government was responsible to provide that for all buildings by 1985 and failed to do so because that's a big money maker for the cabal.
Yeah, well, the world is full of cabals. We've got them here, and the people who believe there's a government, well, they're dreaming because they're all corporations, and if they don't wake up, which the living dead never do, I think when the vaccinations come in, that will get rid of all these fools, and we'll have more room, perhaps. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
Find all their addresses, so we can start using their stuff because they'll be gone.
we'll have a cleanup.
Yeah.
I reckon they'll queue up like the idiots are doing now. I mean, we're all going to die. I mean, why worry about it? If you got to just think outside. Do you actually know somebody who's got the flu? And I've spoken to a lot of people, 16 people last night on Zoom. Not one of them knew anybody who's had a cold. So,
Yep, it's psychological warfare.
yeah. So, go ahead, Robert. What's disturbing you up there, mate?
Well, I tell you, I walk around the stores and people will actually run because I don't wear a mask, and they're so scared. I'm like, just get your vaccine. Everything will be just fine.
It's amazing. I was in a big grocery store here, rather a big one. It's an overseas one, and people wear masks, but they don't bother you in there. They're pretty good. And after a few seconds, the girl doing the checkout. She went, "Oh my God, I've seen somebody's face for the first time in 3 months," and she was all excited about it. She was laughing. This is, I don't believe it, because they're all there. She's going boom, checking people out, all wearing masks. And David brought up a very good point. Anybody wearing a mask is a bandit. And a politician wearing a mask, I just wrote this down because he said it earlier on, how could they're pirates? I mean, and I think I heard somebody else saying their dog doesn't recognize people anymore. So we're in a terrible state. So we're setting up the common law court, and I hope you guys will help you get it off the ground over there in Pennsylvania. And you've got the experience to run it because law enforcement, you've been in a long time. Yeah. It's a simple process. And we'll make sure you get the paperwork, and we'll get you these backgrounds out there so you can use them for further meetings, and then we'll go on from there. And it's a simple way. Anne here is brilliant with paperwork, and in fact she loves paperwork. And if you got anything to say, come on, get online there, say something. Yeah, I'll let you.
Well, we're also setting up a foundation, which I'm going through the paperwork at the moment. I've got to do a little bit more to it, and get together with Barry, and so that's what I'm doing at the moment. But as Barry said, we can't sort of do much because we're still a little bit restricted here, but we have to do some stuff, soon. I mean, we need to do it soon. So, it'll hopefully, cause a bit of an uproar here with some of our politicians and our, in government here at the moment with what's been going on.
Invitation to a mediation, and they don't come there, they'll get a summons, which they all understand, that's to a court, and the court is picked out from a public meeting. This is something I can't emphasize enough. The public meetings will be public, not friends and family. We'll put posters up in the towns, wherever these meetings go, and invite people that know nothing about us, know nothing about the court cases. We'll invite them. They're getting people to a common law court, would you guys?
We'd have to turn them away. It'd be standing room only.
Yeah, because we have a few deputy marshals as well. I have made some people deputies based off of my number and gave them a quantum oath of office. That's probably something you guys probably heard the first time, is having that quantum oath of office for the marshals or a sheriff. You have sheriffs with the common law court. Well, back to that word, you're talking about the word persons, when you're referencing like Mr. Andrews, you reference him on the paperwork as person, his personal capacity. But, when referencing you guys, you're referencing people and men and women, living beings and stuff like that. Like on our paperwork, it says, we put their full legal name, like it's on their driver's license. They're operating, they're an agent operating as such and such, all their person type stuff.
In plain, simple language, as far as we're concerned, they are the living dead anyway, so it doesn't make much difference. So if they come there in person, I'm quite happy with that. At least they've presented themselves before the jury, which a lot of these people won't take much notice of. Well, there's a ex-pope in the Vatican who wished he fought the case in 2013 when the common law court found him guilty of a lot of child problems with because he was in the Nazi party apparently, and he's now a prisoner in the Vatican. So I think that's a good case to present to people who think the common law court has no power. So we know for a fact these people who are committing crimes now are nervously sitting there because they know one day they're going to get that tap on the shoulder. And by all means, we will do it. And all lawful means by the people will do it. Not me, you or I or anybody else. It will be the people they'll answer to. And that's going to happen. And it's going to happen very soon.
That prime minister guy, what's his name, Andrews?
Daniel Buddy, Chairman Daniel.
When he puts a mask on, he is no longer in official capacity. He becomes a pirate under whatever equivalent you have. That's our Libra code. Any public servant cannot wear a mask. They lose their office. Everyone is an occupied country right now.
Yeah.
That's right. Have you noticed the police now? You got to look that some of the activities of police are absolutely being disgusting, and that's just a small group of the cops. The other cops that must be sick to death of having to wear masks, because if they don't, they're going to get penalized by the department, and they're going to penalized by the public. But we need these people to stand up. But if they're wearing masks, as you say, that really makes a difference, because really they're not only crooks and cowboys that in the old days wore masks, and they're robbing banks.
Yes.
Anyway, guys, thanks for coming on this morning. This is just a brief introduction to you guys setting up in Pennsylvania another branch of the International Common Law Court, which will inform John Smith in the UK about it, and I'm sure he will welcome you on board, and we will help you here. Any paperwork, anything you need. And I'd like to thank you for coming on. So from myself and Anne here in Melbourne, wish you speed with Donald Trump, and goodbye for now, and we'll catch you. And next week, be able to coming on to talk about something that's very good on you, Robert. Good on you, Robert. I'll leave it on, man. Gabriel, we're going to come back next week to talk, probably midweek or something, to talk about quantum grammar and what a lot of being learned by Miller and all this stuff. Well, David up here on the top here, he has more knowledge of quantum grammar than anybody ever imagined, and he's corrected a few things that we thought were making sense. Now we realized, our doubts in relation to them have been confirmed. A lot of it is a little bit of BS. Okay, well, over to you guys. Thanks for coming on this morning, and we'll catch you next week. David and Robert, you're always welcome. Love to see you, and thanks for serving your country as a soldier, as I did myself.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for your service.